Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to take a spoiler-filled look at the Batman. Chapter topics are on the left of your screen and they are timestamped in the description below if you want to jump to a specific point. So let's get started. So as far as the plot is concerned, it's definitely one of the most complex I've ever seen in a comic book film. Even compared to Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, this film is dark. Like I said in my non-spoiler review, this is really more of a detective story rather than a superhero one. Batman spends much of this film following the evidence left by the Riddler, which leads to this elaborate plot involving organised crime with connections to his own family. Basically, it all boils down to his own family being connected to mob boss Carmine Falcone, who had a journalist killed, which led to the journalist's son becoming an orphan and subsequently becoming the Riddler. Given the 3-hour runtime and how complex the plot was, it felt at times like I was watching a miniseries. That's not a criticism though. When there have been so many screen interpretations of Batman, it was refreshing to see a new take. In the comics, Batman is known for being a detective as much as a superhero. I could definitely see the influences director Matt Reeves took with this story. The Long Halloween and Hush are some of the most famous Batman stories. In fact, at one point the word Hush appears on the screen, and I genuinely thought the villain would actually turn out to be Hush. Next to Death in the Family, Hush is one of my favourite Batman stories, which makes me question why they just didn't use Hush as a villain. Maybe the studio dictated a more famous villain? Who knows? You can also clearly see the influence of Seven and Zodiac in this movie. Both of them David Fincher films, coincidentally, and both of them about serial killers. In fact, if you had told me that David Fincher had directed this film, I would have believed it. It's nearly exactly the kind of Batman film I would have expected him to make. There are several plot points that are inspired by the aforementioned films, especially the part where the Riddler gives himself up. No one's head ended up getting delivered in a box though. So let's talk about Robert Pattinson's Batman, and it's really a performance of two halves, so to speak. His Batman is actually really good. Compared to previous versions, there are a lot of slow movements followed by quick outbursts of violence. Pattinson's Batman, especially in the crime investigation scenes, moves very slowly, taking everything in. I really liked how this wasn't an origin story, and we jump into this plot with Batman in his second year of fighting crime. The fact that he's allowed into crime scenes surrounded by cops speaks volumes of how much respect he's earned from most of the police force. He's obviously taken down a lot of criminals at this point, otherwise there wouldn't be this level of trust. Pattinson's Batman voice is really good, sounding different enough from his Bruce Wayne voice, but not overdone like Christian Bale's tended to be. I also like how in the first fight scene, he doesn't strike like a ninja from the shadows. This Batman doesn't use stealth all that much, preferring to walk out slowly in front of his enemies before beating them to a pulp. Now I have to say I wasn't a huge fan of Pattinson's Bruce Wayne. I appreciate the fact that he's trying to convey that he's damaged emotionally, and that being Batman is sort of like a drug and that it's addictive. When he wasn't in the suit he looked like an addict that was having withdrawal symptoms, and I guess that was the point. However, even Alfred brings up the fact that he has to make some public appearances to run Wayne Enterprises. Like I said in my non-spoiler review, it's amazing to me that people haven't figured out yet that he is the Batman. I get the impression that this version of Bruce Wayne doesn't have a Lucius Fox running the company for him at this point. Also, a lot of his equipment looks like he made himself. I'd like to know where he got those spy cam contact lenses though. Those are pretty cool. I think Pattinson's portrayal of the character will get better in the sequels. By the end of the film, he learns that he's not that different from the Riddler and can't just be vengeance, but has to be a hero for the people. That shot near the end where he's carrying a flare and leading the people to safety was very symbolic of that. Maybe in the next movie his Bruce Wayne will be more of a public figure, as it's not just a great disguise, but his connections as a socialite can give him information that he can use as Batman, just like in the comics. Now as far as Alfred is concerned, he actually doesn't have a lot of screen time, although he turns out to be part of a crucial plot point when it's revealed that he knew the real reason Bruce's parents were killed. I thought for sure that Alfred was going to die when he opened that Riddler letter that was meant for Bruce Wayne. Andy Serkis gives a good performance here, but we're not given much time to get to know him compared to Michael Caine's version of the character, who really was more of a father figure to Bruce Wayne. Serkis's Alfred is really more of a teacher and trainer to Bruce Wayne, and just looks continually worried for Bruce's mental health, as he should be. As for Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, I liked her in the role, but she wasn't as good as previous versions. Notice a theme here? They seem to downplay the cat burglar aspect of the character, and she seemed more motivated to fight her missing roommate more than anything else. She didn't seem all that interested in money as Anne Hathaway's version in The Dark Knight Rises. Incidentally, Hathaway is my favourite version of Catwoman. She just struck the right balance of being neither good nor bad. But then, nearly everything from the Nolan trilogy is my favourite version of everything Batman, as is the gold standard of Batman movies, in my opinion. To be honest, I think the character is a little overused at this point in the movies, and I think they could have used a different female character like the Huntress instead. Batman has a huge rogues gallery, and they keep coming back to the same ones. More on that in a minute. Now, as far as the Penguin is concerned, I actually really like Colin Farrell's version, and I think he's the best interpretation of the character so far in the movies. It's still hard to believe it's him underneath all that makeup, and he looks and sounds like something out of a Martin Scorsese film. I found it interesting that they depicted him as being just a lackey for Carmine Falcone, and he's not the big-time mobster that he's known for yet. This is similar to the portrayal of the character in the early seasons of Gotham on television. The ending hints that the Penguin is going to take Falcone's place as the head of his criminal organisation. In fact, it's been confirmed that Farrell is going to star in his own show as the Penguin on HBO Max. I'm not sure I'm interested in seeing that though, as we pretty much got a good show about the Penguin in the Gotham series. Now, the Riddler in this movie is clearly inspired, as I said before, from serial killer movies like Seven and Silence of the Lambs. The character has often been seen as a poor imitation of the Joker in other Batman media, and I think this approach suits the character very well. He's not all that far removed from the real Zodiac killer who terrorised New York in the 70s. He even left behind riddles for the police to solve. In a way, the Riddler and Batman are kind of like two sides of the same coin. They both want the same thing, and it's interesting that in a way, Batman himself inspires and creates the villains that he fights. The scene where Batman interrogates Riddler after he gives himself up was one of the best in the film, and Paul Dano was really unsettling in that scene. For a minute there, you'd think that he knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, but it turns out that he doesn't and was just intending to kill him. I'm not sure how I feel about him planting car bombs around the city, as he just wants to assassinate the mayor, and it turns out he's cultivated an online army of followers that dress like him. But hey, it's a Batman movie, and they have to give him someone to fight during the big action climax. Now, as far as the action scenes in this movie are concerned, I really enjoyed them. Like I said before, the fight scenes are very well staged and edited clearly so you can see what's going on. Some of the fights in the Nolan movies, particularly Batman Begins, were edited with too much quick cuts and shaky camera work. That was during a time when every Hollywood movie was trying to be the Bourne series. This Batman didn't strike from the shadows like a ninja. He just came straight at his enemies. I particularly liked the nightclub fights, both of them, where Batman just storms in and tears up the place. It was like a similar scene in The Dark Knight, but done better. The main action highlight, of course, is the car chase, where Batman chases the Penguin on the freeway with his Fast and Furious style Batmobile. Despite the darkness and the rain, you can clearly see what's going on, and I especially love Michael Giacchino's score here. I don't remember the Batmobile having much gadgets, which again makes me believe that Batman custom built this car by himself, and that it wasn't a military vehicle like the Tumbler from the Nolan trilogy. As for favourite scenes, I think the opening was especially effective and played out like a slasher film. I actually thought we were about to see yet another version of Bruce's parents being murdered, but thankfully the film stayed well away from that. I think we've seen Thomas and Martha Wayne being murdered enough times by now, thank you very much. The early fight scene where Batman beats up the thugs at the train station I also really liked, and was a great introduction to Pattinson's Dark Knight. Funnily enough, the actor who played the young prospect of the thugs plays Tim Drake in the Titans series, who eventually becomes Robin. Coincidence? As I said before, I loved the Batmobile chase, and especially the sound of the engine as it was revving up. Loved that. The scene where Falcone's thugs opened fire on Batman and was lit up only by the light of the muzzle shots looked amazing. Again, very similar to a scene in a previous Nolan film, in this case The Dark Knight Rises, but done better in my opinion. So as far as the sequels are concerned, it seems that the Riddler makes a new friend while he's in jail at the end of the film. This friend seems to be the Joker. And to be honest with you people, I'm not very excited about the prospect of yet another Batman film with the Joker as the main villain. The Joker has been used far too much in DC movies at this point. Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight is iconic, and it's hard to imagine any interpretation being anywhere close to being as good. In the last few years, we've had Jared Leto's Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, not to mention Cameron Monaghan's Joker from the Gotham series. This is the same problem that the Superman movies had. They kept using the same villains like Lex Luthor and General Zod over and over again, instead of using other famous Superman villains like Darkseid and Brainiac. I mean, enough already. I'd be quite happy not seeing the Joker at all in a Batman project for a long, long time. Batman is a huge rogues gallery of villains, many who have never been used in a movie before, so why not use one of them for a change? For the sequel to this film, I think villains like Professor Hugo Strange, the Ventriloquist, or the Court of Owls would fit very well in this universe. So please, Warner Brothers and DC, no more Joker. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to use the Joker, aren't they? So that's my spoiler review of the Batman. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. While you're here, why don't you check out my other videos? Most importantly, I hope you all stay safe out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.